Tell me that. No, tell me that again. Share. We're back. Share with what you were saying.
So it's a real contrast where we have the very high-risk women in the case of breast and ovarian cancer. They can weigh up personal risks and benefits and take action. And for the rest of us, we're at lower risk. Being active, avoiding weight gain pays off, but it's a really different trade-off of risks and benefits because it's a much lower risk to start with. But as you said, 1 in 2 men will get cancer, 1 in 3 women. So it's a different equation, but we need to be working on both fronts.
Don't just take it seriously if you're in the high risk category.
Right.
Speaking of kind of the stats you were talking about there, something else we learned and that we will learn over the course of the 6 hours of the Ken Burns documentary that's coming out, African Americans are more likely to die from cancer than whites. So why is that, and how do we change that?
Well, part of it is the gap. Having access to health care and information if you don't know. And for men, that you stated, they normally don't go to the doctor. For us, one of the benefits, especially the Gateway program, it's an insurance program for individuals from 19 to 64 who's uninsured, and that's men. So for the young men in our community that they even had the opportunity to have coverage and come into the primary care setting, so they come and they use it, which is one of the benefits of the Affordable Care Act as well. Once persons gain access to health coverage, they will seek out primary care, and that impacts African Americans. And they'll go to the doctor, and then they can learn those things and have the information. So that's the gap, having access to care, especially in North St. Louis.
And on top of access, there's also the cost, time off work, and just the ability to follow through, whether it's for a positive test to see if it's really cancer or not. If that's more time off work, low income, doesn't matter, race, ethnicity, that access is only one part of actually being able to get the whole of treatment.
And we saw in one of the tweets earlier, too, just the cost that can be associated.
It is very expensive to have cancer, no doubt, even with insurance. You have time off work, loss of productivity, you have co-pays if you do have insurance, you have medications that aren't covered, you have all kinds of extra things that you have to buy to just like mouthwash and things like that that aren't covered by insurance, and it's expensive.
So is the gap, is it going the right direction, or is it kind of going like this in terms of who can afford and who can get access to something where they've got the DNA figured out of your particular type of cancer, and you've got a good chance of surviving it?
Well, I think it's improving, and there's also a win that we can celebrate here in Missouri. There's things that we're trying to do on the advocacy side to make things better as well. So in the past in Missouri, if you had the option of oral chemotherapy or IV chemotherapy, they were not treated the same when they were billed. And oral chemotherapy, which has less side effects, is oftentimes more targeted treatment. You can take a pill at home. It was billed as a prescription benefit, so $2,000 to $3,000 a month on average in Missouri. Whereas IV treatment, at times, it could just be a $20 copay for your visit. So we rallied for that, for oral chemotherapy parity, and we won. We stood by each other's side, many of the organizations across the state, and we got that to pass at the beginning of this year. It went into effect.
Congratulations.
Is there optimism amongst, I feel like there is with you, Bev, in terms of where we're headed?
Here's the way I looked at cancer. I didn't have a choice when I was diagnosed. And when I go out and I talk to women about this and I talk to groups, you don't often have a choice in things that happen to you. But for me, I decided to view cancer as a storm in my life, and I chose to search for the rainbows through the storm, and they're around every corner. And you get to choose the attitude that you have. So for me, I think there's a positive outlook about it just because I'm still here and we're still making progress every day. And I actually took the approach of I wrote a book based on interviews with long-term breast cancer survivors around the world. So I surrounded myself with women who have beat this disease for up to 50 years. And that really changed my outlook for it. And what I tell people is to never give up hope. And there comes a time, sometimes for some, I just lost my dad to pancreatic cancer this fall. But even the way that he did cancer in the very end was his way. We took him home in those last moments. and he got to be home with us and with his pet, you know, with our dog. He was there with his dog. So I think that never giving up hope and doing it your own way and trying to find some kind of positive aspect to it really helps. It helped me at least.
Weathering storms can be hard on your own.
It can, and you're not alone. And there is support. In St. Louis, there's so much support. There's also support online. And what I tell people too, I'm a therapist by training, so what I tell people is that you might try one kind of support. You might try a support group, for instance, and maybe it's not a good fit. That's okay. Go try another support group, or maybe try an individual therapist who specializes in helping people with cancer. Or find somebody in the chemo room who's a good fit for you and you can support one another. Or even just find a friend to support you through it. Online services, I've got a website where we all come together and we support each other. There might be somebody in China getting chemotherapy supporting somebody in the US getting chemotherapy, and we all support one another. There's lots of different forms of support, so find one that works for you.
Thank you all.